10 best go head-to-head for money and pride in the Marlboro Challenge. Michael Andretti sits on the pole on the strength of 7 wins this season. He leads the championship hunt and won the 1988 Challenge. Rick Mears starts outside row 1. He captured both 500-mile races this season. He was victorious in last year's challenge at Nazareth. Mears' teammate Emerson Fittipaldi is on the inside of the second row. He has 1 win this season and 2 poles to his credit. Next to him is Bobby Rahal. Rahal's lone victory this year came at the Meadowlands. He is second in the points and the only driver that can challenge Michael for the championship. Al Unser Jr. won the 1989 Challenge here at Laguna Seca. He is the defending PPG champion, and he has 2 wins this season. Outside of row 3 sits Arie Luyendyk. His win at Nazareth 2 weeks ago was his second of the 91 season. Danny Sullivan starts inside row 4 on the merit of a pole and a win at Laguna Seca in last year's season finale. He has 8 top 10 finishes this year. John Andretti is competing in his first Marlboro Challenge. He qualified by capturing the season opener in Australia, his first career win. All-time great Mario Andretti starts inside row 5. He has 7 top 5 finishes in 91 and is second in IndyCar history with 51 wins. Eddie Cheever secured the final starting spot with 11 top 10 finishes this season. He is 9th in PPG points. Kart's 10 best fight it out for big money and even bigger bragging rights in the no-holds-barred 1991 Marlboro Challenge at Laguna Seca Raceway. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Just a few miles inland from the Monterey Peninsula of Northern California is Laguna Seca, one of the most beautiful race courses in the world. And with its up and downhill climbs and its twisting curves, it's an ideal place to contest the Marlboro Challenge. Hello and welcome to Laguna Seca. I'm Paul Page, and what you're about to see is exciting. It's unique in IndyCar racing. It's really a trophy dash, a 100-mile sprint, no holds barred. The IndyCar drivers love it, and the drivers in it, they are the 10 best in the sport. Consider this, it's by invitation only. To get in this race, you must be a winner, a pole sitter, or lead in the point standings. And when you leave here today, you leave saying, well, I was the best. I ran against the best. I won the Marlboro Challenge. But Derek Daly, there's really much more to it than that.
Well, that's right. The Marlboro Challenge is really all about money and lots of it. Consider this fact. The driver at the start today, except John Andretti, have already taken home with them $2.7 million of Marlboro money in the last 4 challenges. And there's just about another $1 million to be handed out today. So it very much will be a flat-out 100-mile sprint where they will use their spare cars just in case they have to get over-aggressive.
The track here is amazingly challenging. 2.2 miles around, Derek Daly.
It's 11 turns. There is tremendous elevation changes here that start at turn 5, go to turn 6, and then at the top of turn 7. But where the X marks here is the most unique corner in all of racing in the world, the corkscrew.
And there you see Bobby Rahal with his onboard camera down the corkscrew. We take a quick look at the starting grid, brought to you by the Die Hard battery. Now with more power when you need it most. The front row, it's Michael Andretti and Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi and Rahal in the second, Al Unser Jr., Arie Luyendyk the third, Danny Sullivan, John Andretti back in the 4th row, and the 5th row, Mario Andretti and Eddie Cheever, as they work their way down the hill. And very shortly, we should see a green flag at Laguna Seca. As we take a look, the field coming around the final turn. This is the pit straight that they turn into. That concrete wall is just looming outside the edge of that corner, Derek.
The concrete wall has a habit of just sucking race cars in when they go over the limit here. And over the limit is where some of them can get in a short sprint race like this with so much money at stake.
And this represents the field. Consider that. 1,400 starts, 170 wins within the record book of this field, 9 championships, 9 Indy 500 wins, and 3 Formula One titles. The best of the best, without question. Former winners in this race today and also of the series, Bobby Rahal back in '87, Michael, Al Unser Jr., and of course Rick Mears, the defending champion of the Marlboro Challenge. So now they work their way around under very bright sunlight. You look over the shoulder of Michael Andretti, who sits in the pole position. That position chosen as a result of his wins and poles thus far this season. Michael going to be very hard to beat today. It's magnificent here. It should get a little warmer than the 78 degrees that we're experiencing right now. And bright blue and clear skies, as you can see out from the Quaker State onboard camera there. The PPG pace car sits just ahead as they climb up toward the top of the hill, and one of the most interesting turns in the sport.
And it really is the top of the hill. Just look at that pace car lead these cars so very slowly, heating up those tires. Drivers thinking about how I can get a jump, how can I get an advantage. Now Michael Andretti, as we saw from his in-car, look at the drop here. This is the corkscrew corner, the most unique turn in all of racing. But we saw a great in-car camera shot of Michael Andretti, a clear road. That's what he wants, that's what he needs, and it is a big advantage.
There are only 5 rows, 10 of the best, as the pace car moves off of the circuit itself. No driver has ever won this event from the pole. No one has ever won it twice. You look from the pole as Michael Andretti, with so much on the line, not just today, but throughout this entire weekend. Tomorrow he faces a championship battle. They begin to accelerate, and we have a green flag. We're racing in the Marlboro Challenge.
What a disastrous start. I can only say disastrous start by Michael Andretti. Caught napping, a most unusual situation for him. But look at Rick Mears.
Rick Mears jumps to the front. Michael Andretti gets caught to the inside as they cycle down on the bottom side of the course now. And look at Michael work that wheel as he tries to keep the back end from getting away from him.
Oh, he got inside Rahal. They were wheel to wheel here, but already look at Mears. 3 or 4, 7 car lengths ahead.
And Michael has his nemesis, Bobby Rahal, sitting right alongside him. Emerson Fittipaldi drops into 4th place. They climb to the top of the hill, and Arie Luyendyk's in trouble. Arie Luyendyk apparently with a quick spin, but does he have the engine running?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. That's what he's asking for. Please come, give me a push, give me a push. Look at this. There's a motion from Luyendyk.
It being a road course, the track condition stays green, only yellow in this one little section as Rick Mears continues to lead. Here's a view. Now watch Arie Luyendyk, about the 6th car back in the order, as he tries to dart to the inside, Derek.
Now look, he's in the dirty part of the racetrack. Look at that dust being kicked up. Then he locks up those front wheels, and now it's all over. Long, lazy spin right to the back of the grid. But if they can get him running, and there was no yellow flag, that's what Luyendyk was hoping for.
Al Unser Jr. was able to miss Luyendyk and get around. So as they come across the line, completing lap number 1, it is Rick Mears, Michael Andretti, Bobby Rahal, Emerson Fittipaldi, and now with Luyendyk missing, Al Unser Jr. in 5th. John Andretti is 6th. In 7th place, it's Eddie Cheever, then Mario Andretti, then Danny Sullivan.
Oh, the race is on. Michael is chasing Rick. The race is on. Forced his way past Rahal after a disastrous start. There's Fittipaldi running in a good 4th place. But remember, Rahal and Michael are each other sounding out the situation for tomorrow's championship race. But this is all about money here.
Staying very closely together on this magnificent circuit at Laguna Seca as Rick Mears climbs the hill. There is Emerson Fittipaldi. He runs currently in 4th place as he tries to catch up with Bobby Rahal down through the corkscrew.
This is turn 9. It's 120 mile an hour 5th gear corner. He then picks 6th gear on the run down here back to 5th, and this is 120 mile an hour right-hand turn down to turn 11, the slowest corner on the racetrack, 50 miles an hour. Believe it or not, they use 3rd gear here because these are now 6-speed gearboxes in these cars.
Let's go down to the pit area now, watching this entire event and giving us coverage from the pits, Gary Gerald and Jan Beekes. Gary?
Well, Paul, this is called the Marlboro Challenge. It's a sprint, but even though it's a sprint, there's a mandatory pit stop, and every team is going to have to come in at least 1 time, change at least 2 tires, hook up their fueling apparatus. Now, because they can't carry enough fuel to go the 100-mile distance on board, they'll take a light load of fuel down here. So we expect quicker pit stops. Instead of, say, 14 seconds, we may see 11 or 12-second stops in this one today. And with all the money that's on the line, there's a lot of pressure on the guys in the pits, as well as the guy in the cockpit. Now, this is all a prelude to another major showdown tomorrow, and for more on that, let's go to our colleague Jan Beekes.
That's right, Gary. Tomorrow we have that championship battle between Bobby Rahal and Michael Andretti, but that's probably the furthest thing from either of those drivers' minds right now. This is an opportunity for them, however, to size each other up. In other words, how does that car handle on a full fuel load with that race setup that they will use tomorrow? Now, here's a question for you. You think that Michael Andretti or Bobby Rahal will be trying to send a message today as to what's going to take place tomorrow, Paul?
I don't think think there's any question about that, Jan Vikas, as we watch Eddie Cheever work his way around in 7th place. Just behind him was Mario Andretti, as Mario and Eddie have been battling. There you see the elder Andretti. He's just behind Eddie Cheever as Eddie climbs the hill, flashes over the start-finish line. 45 laps, 100 miles. And look at Cheever smoke those brakes. Wow.
Locks that inside left front. That just shows you how hard Cheever is standing on that brake pedal, trying to catch up to John Andretti.
Of course, one of the good pieces of information for these drivers is you can use this car up today. In reality, its chance of ever being used again by this team is slim to none.
That's right. They will not use these cars. Look at Junior get sideways on his way up the hill there. Hard on the power, just breaks that rear end loose. Now, if the car gets loose, that is not a good way to start going fast here. So I don't think Al Jr. likes that.
Fittipaldi closing in on Bobby Rahal in a battle for 3rd place. Rahal down through the corkscrew. This is a continuous downhill run under the bridge, and suddenly all the way down, nice sweeping turns.
Bumpy as they go down here too. Now, little dab on the brakes, and then down to the inside. But look at Fittipaldi under braking.
Fittipaldi comes to the inside, tries to get Rahal, but it's a very tight, can be very dangerous turn, and Rahal cuts Fittipaldi off. The battle for 3rd continues, but Fittipaldi is closed in right behind Rahal now. Another tight corner, in fact, a hairpin just ahead. Fittipaldi darts out a little bit, but Rahal protects his position to the inside of the corner. Now back on the flat again. A right-hander just ahead. Again, Fittipaldi looks a little bit to the inside. Not really a passing area. He should line up behind him here. The next opportunity is really 1 corner away, Derek.
Oh, Emerson is anxious here in a race this short. You can't wait too long to make a pass, because by the time you get by, the leader stretches it out too much. You do not have enough time to catch up, so you can't stay behind.
Rick Mears still the leader in the Marlboro Challenge. You see Fittipaldi lined up just behind Rahal. In 2nd place is Michael Andretti, but Rick Mears and Michael have been able to pull away a little bit from this battle for 3rd place. So Rahal continues to try to hold off a charging Emerson Fittipaldi. At the front of the field, averaging 104 miles an hour, is Rick Mears. Michael Andretti 2nd. Then that battle between Rahal and Fittipaldi, and Al Unser Jr. moves up into 5th. There's the rest of the order, 4 laps complete. Andretti 2nd. Then that battle between Rahal and Fittipaldi, and Al Unser Jr. moves up into 5th. We're back as we continue watching the battle between Rahal and Fittipaldi. You see Al Unser Jr. just behind there, and now Fittipaldi makes his move to the inside. Fittipaldi down alongside Rahal. He blocks him for position into the corner.
Got a great run out of turn 11. The hairpin went up the inside and really had the line into turn 2 before Rahal could even stop the challenge. So Fittipaldi on his way to Michael Andretti running 2nd to Rick Mears.
With that move, Fittipaldi does pick up 3rd place. Rick Mears still out in front. Mears has only won once on a road course in the last 9 years, and that lone win came here 2 years ago. There's Michael Andretti now being chased by Fittipaldi as they come down the hill. Rick Mears is 3.5 seconds out in front of the 2nd place Michael Andretti.
And really is holding Michael off very, very well. We did expect Michael to close that gap, but he really is struggling to close down that gap. So Mears looks extremely strong.
There's Al Unser Jr. He rides just behind Rahal in 5th place, and now trying to close Rahal. 2 teammates involved in a battle here. Al Unser Jr. was in the points fight until just 2 races ago, but no longer is he in the points fight. But the man that he teams with, that sits just in front of him at the moment, thinks not only of today, but tomorrow's race, which will determine the PPG Championship for the 1991 season. And of course, you'll see coverage of that right here on ESPN. But for the moment, take a look at this. Here is Mario Andretti trying to get around Eddie Cheever. They were up and battling a few moments ago. They're back at it once again. It's a fight for 7th place.
This is the new infield section, turn 5th gear corner, turn 4, but Mario all over Cheever, but Cheever knows how to drive defensively. He's done it in the past. Now, this is the elevation. This is where it starts. Look at this long uphill drag up through the gearbox. This is a 5th gear corner here, turn 6. Now look at the elevation changes. Now the mountain climb really starts.
This track is used not only for Indy cars, but back in April, it's used for the Grand Prix motorcycles, and the motorcycles look for a little wider safety margins off the edge of the race course. They're not riding with much protection. And so look at Mario as he drops the right side off the track in his continued pursuit of Cheever. But that's why you see these long runoff areas as Mario comes inside Cheever, gets him under braking in the very tough turn 11. And look at Cheever as he throws it sideways in a desperate attempt to stay right with Mario.
I'm so surprised Mario pulled off that move, but look at
Cheever's
Cheever.
going to do it again. Cheever tries to get inside Mario under braking, but Mario protects the corner and stays in place.
Great racing. This is what the Marlboro Challenge is all about. But Mario made a huge lunge down at turn 11, did manage to get the pass made, but Cheever didn't hang up. The wheel spin we saw was when he really kicks that turbocharger in, lays down black rubber, but Mario held the position.
8 laps are now complete for the leader, Rick Mears. 45 laps the scheduled distance here in the Marlboro Challenge. No points on the line here. The cars don't matter. All that matters is that you try and win this run.
Look what we have here. Emerson has caught Michael. We spoke about Michael struggling to catch Rick. Now the Penske's obviously showing that they're very, very well sorted. So Michael is about to have his hands and his mirrors and everything he needs filled with the problems Emerson are about to give him.
If you're talking about money, there's another little incentive here, Derek Daly. The fastest lap in this race is worth $20,000 to the driver that turns it. Thus far, it's been Emerson Fittipaldi at 106.5 miles an hour. Next closest has been Rick Mears at 106.2. So you're looking over Michael Andretti's onboard camera. Let's go back because the key moment thus far has really been the start of this race where Rick Mears got a nice jump.
Exactly. There is such an advantage to lead a race like this. Now look at Rick Mears behind Michael. Gets the jump. Beside Michael, gets the jump and drags Rahal around the outside with him. The key move, you're right, Paul, of the race so far.
And Michael Andretti was able to get the inside line on Rahal through this section of the course. And there you see the two of them as they were battling. Rick Mears had the line. And look at the two of them. As Michael, he didn't get into him. But again, as he shifted up, he washed the back end of that car. And finally, Michael was able to get past Bobby Rahal and pick up the second place. So now you ride with the second place, Michael Andretti. Rick Mears is about 4 seconds ahead and pulling away from this field. Emerson Fittipaldi is the fastest car so far. Back at the Marlboro Challenge, Laguna Seca Raceway, as Michael Andretti is handling his car in every corner, twisting the wheel right and left as he tries to hold off a very fast and charging Emerson Fittipaldi.
Michael, under heavy braking, gets a little twitch from the back end of the car, which he has to correct every time. Tells me that he's not 100% happy with the braking ability of the car. Now, this car was particularly good under braking all during the practice and qualifying sessions, but in a race condition, not that good. Look at Emerson, has a look down the inside.
Fittipaldi climbs the hill now behind second place Michael Andretti. Rick Mears is still the leader of the race by nearly 4 seconds out in front of that number 2 car of Michael Andretti. Down through the corkscrew. Let's just ride and listen with Michael for a moment as he comes down the hill. Slams it down through the gears and is now crossing the start-finish line on the pit straight.
Has his hands full. We can't quite see in his mirror, but every time he looks in there, Emerson gets larger and larger every time, particularly under heavy braking at turn 2 right here.
Michael Andretti still with Fittipaldi trying to get around him, pick up second place.
Of course, the thing is now, Paul, while Michael has to drive defensively, Rick Mears, who has a clear road, can inch his way ahead. This is not a long race.
No question at all that this battle is in fact helping Rick Mears, but the battle is running faster than Rick. There you see Rick just at the top of the hill as they begin to climb up, or at actually about halfway point up the hill. Get a glimpse of Rick from time to time. They've been closing down on Rick rather steadily.
This is a $50,000 position that Emerson is trying to get, an extra $50,000 if he can pass Michael. That is the difference between the prize money between second and third. Look how hard Michael works on that wheel Well, it's just a little correction. This is very bumpy here. Look, see the way he yanks at the wheel? Now look, he only makes one gear change. He goes from 5th down to 3rd just in one change.
And there you see Rick Mears just passing out from the bottom of your picture. 2nd, 3rd, Bobby Rahal back and forth. As the fight continues, Rick Mears has an extra incentive here today as they close in on him. And that incentive is that because he won a Marlboro sponsored event earlier in the year, he has an opportunity, should he win here today, to collect an extra $150,000. Bobby Rahal has that chance.
He has that chance too. What a great pay day that would be. It's known as the Marlboro Million. There are 3 Marlboro sponsored races. If one driver wins all 3, just as an extra bonus, they give him $1 million. If you win 2, they give you a $150,000 bonus.
Well, Fittipaldi continues to climb right up behind Michael Andretti. And once Fittipaldi gets into that position, Michael seems to be able to hold him off. Michael is certainly good at protecting his corner. This would not be a passing zone as they come slamming down the hill. But this maneuver here sets up a really critical set of corners.
That's right, but Michael is fast down this hill. Emerson needs to get closer at turn 11 to take advantage of his better braking. He needs to close it up here. He needs to be very close to Michael down this front straight because he can really brake a lot better at turn 2, but I don't think he's close enough here.
Now, Fittipaldi darted out and had a look to the inside, but Michael commands the corner going down to this hairpin. But once again, look under braking. Here is Fittipaldi closing right in behind Michael Andretti. They come off the corner. Michael a little better acceleration. For Michael Andretti, winning the points championship tomorrow is his #1 priority. He says that this Marlboro Challenge is just for the fun of racing.
No question. I mean, the Marlboro Challenge is, definitely a secondary thing for us because of what's happening this weekend. But once we're there and we're concentrating on it, we're going to give it our best shot. I mean, I think Marlboro Challenge is going to be more of a fun thing than a serious thing because it's one of those races. If you don't win, it doesn't mean a whole lot. So we're going to be trying very hard to win the race.
Derek, you've driven in the challenge, and in one sense, what Michael says is correct. It doesn't mean a lot because it doesn't figure into the overall portfolio, but it's a fun sprint.
That's right, and let me tell you, the extra money you can win here by winning the race can buy you a nice house or 2 or 3 nice cars.
So Michael Andretti still runs in 2nd place. Is this a projection of what may in fact happen tomorrow? Remember, in the final race of the season, you'll see it right here on ESPN. It is not only a race to see who wins, but there is no question the championship will be decided tomorrow. The man in the #2 car, Michael Andretti, leads Bobby Rahal in the points, but it could be a most interesting afternoon. Bobby Rahal is right behind this battle. We occasionally get a glimpse of him as well as he runs in 4th place, but the fight is this one between Michael and Emerson Fittipaldi, as Rick Mears has been able now to pull out a little bit and is back to 4.5 seconds ahead of the 2nd place Michael Andretti.
Michael Andretti using all the road and all his skills and all his knowledge to hold off Emerson because Emerson is just a little bit faster. This is the uphill rise. Look at the sky. That's all you see. Now watch Michael when he turns left here. Bang, hits that inside curve. Bang, hits that outside curve. Michael uses everything possible, but this car is not as good as he would like. Let's have a look in slow motion here. Watch what he does. Hits the inside curve. Bang, bounces off that. Now watch what he does with these wheels. Look, track isn't wide enough. Bang, drive right up over that curve. Now they're lightly loaded wheels on the inside, but if you do that too often, you can definitely cause a mechanical failure.
Now Rick Mears is out in front after 16 laps are complete, and the fight continues between Michael and Emerson Fittipaldi. Ari Leyendijk is still at the back trying to make up lost time from his early spin. In the Marlboro Challenge, this battle for 2nd place continues between Michael Andretti, the #2 car, currently occupying 2nd place, and Emerson Fittipaldi in #5, set up just behind him down the flat section of the course. Fittipaldi continues to run just as close as he can to the back of Michael Andretti. A static section of the course, no passing here, but they're coming into a heavy braking area. Fittipaldi could try it coming into this next corner. He has been darting at Michael from time to time. Now they go single file all the way to the top of the hill and are ready to head down the corkscrew. Look at Fittipaldi as again he takes a look. He's certainly letting Michael know that he's there.
Little peek down the keep the pressure cooker turned up on Michael. Emerson speaks 5 different languages. I wonder what he's saying right now, or what language he's saying to them, because he has the hard job to do. Catching somebody is one thing. Passing them is a totally different thing.
And when you speak of what language, you're talking to a man in the person of Fittipaldi that speaks 9 languages, and 5 of them fluently.
Now, this is where he needs to close up. This is the slowest corner on the racetrack. But look what happens when Michael, he can draw away.
There's the leader of the race, Rick Mears, car number 3. He just ran his fastest lap thus far at 106.3 miles an hour and has stretched his lead, look at that, out to 5.7 seconds. Let's go down to the pits and Jan Vikas.
Thank you, Paul. You know, when Gary talked about you only have to change 2 tires here during the Marlboro Challenge, well, the call has just gone out here in the Penske pit, in the Rick Mears pit, that they will go for 4 tires. It says the crew came down 4. They're not going to try and change or save time. What they're going to do is go for all 4. So the crew is making those preparations. Now let's go down to Gary Jarrow.
Eddie Cheever, the first in the pits. The Target crew changing all 4. They've got 20 gallons of fuel here. He's off the jacks. We've got him just over 11 seconds on a good smooth stop for Eddie Cheever.
Dynamite stop as the Target car goes back into the fight. The Chip Ganassi-owned car, 12.35 seconds, the official timing on that stop. And Eddie Cheever has made the first stop at this run at lap number 14. So the question becomes, when do you stop in this? Excuse me, lap number 18. When do you stop in this? They apparently have a fairly wide window.
They have a wide window, but the interesting thing will be, we've seen earlier this year drivers not able to make the pass on the racetrack. It's going to be up to Emerson's crew to try and make the pass in the pits if he can't get it done on the racetrack.
And of course, what are we talking about there now? 2 of the finest pit crews in the business. Both Fittipaldi's and Michael, both are incredibly quick.
And believe me, they love to go at it head-to-head, pit crew against pit crew, because remember, we mentioned $50,000 difference between second and third. Well, I bet the crew would like to share in that too.
You think there isn't some tension building up in the pits right now? Every man going over in his mind what they will have to do when this car comes in. And look at Ray Hall and Al Unser Jr. as they're beginning to close in now on this battle for second place. The car's a little lighter, perhaps a little better to handle at this point, and they have begun to close in. Rick Mears' crew has been in anticipation of his stop. They're looking ahead. Expect to see it in 5 or 6 laps from now, but of course you never know, and you play it very close to the vest here. There is John Andretti as he has Mario Andretti lined up just behind him, and Mario has been chopping at the back of his young nephew quite a bit here as well. Remember that John Andretti won his very first race of his IndyCar career at Australia, the first race of this season, and that earned his entry into the Marlboro Challenge. Now he's got Uncle Mario behind him trying to make his day miserable. Rick Mears is still the leader of the race. He has a 6.2 second lead. Back at the Marlboro Challenge in Laguna Seca, Emerson Fittipaldi breaks off his fight and heads for the pits. The Penske team is working on the car now. Rick Reineman on the right front of the car has that tire changed already. They have 4 tires changed on the car. It's refueled. And in 11 seconds, Emerson Fittipaldi is away and back into the fight.
The black tracks he leaves as he accelerates up that hill away from his pits gives you an idea of the aggression they have to display getting out of these pits, because on an uphill rise, you can easily stall that engine.
And both Rick Mears and Emerson Fittipaldi have elected to the last 2 pit positions. The Penske team is well up the hill. And so because of that, it's even more precarious trying to get out of their pits than some of the others. Mario Andretti tries inside of John Andretti. John has nothing to do with it, slams the door on him.
Risky move. Came from a long way back. We saw him successfully do that to Cheever earlier on, but he was a long way back from John. But look what happened. He actually lost because he was out of line when he realized he couldn't make the turn. He was actually way too tight, so lost a lot to John.
And of course, on a road circuit, that's part of the problem. You can line up for lap after lap after lap, and then if you miss your chance, it really throws you.
Absolutely puts you lap after lap behind again. But however, it's catch up again. Mario has to chew away. Inches is all he can catch John. Inches at a time, not big gobs.
How frustrating is that in the cockpit? When you've done that you said, here's my chance. Look at Mario as he drives it off the racetrack, trying to keep up with young John, and then realizes what you do apparently during the maneuver.
Well, that's the problem. You don't know when to make that maneuver. It can be risky. He tried it all there and lost it, but Rahal now still managing to hold off teammate Al Jr.
Al Jr. lined up just behind Bobby Rahal in a battle for third place. Michael Andretti, after the stop by Emerson Fittipaldi, sits in second. Rick Mears is still the leader. Remember, they have not stopped. Fittipaldi has stopped. Eddie Cheever has stopped. The rest of this field still running at full chat on the circuit. And we have 23 laps into the record book. So we're right beyond the halfway point now. You look the Quaker State onboard camera over Bobby Rahal's right shoulder, and he looks ahead to Michael Andretti and tries to close.
I don't think Michael can stay out too much longer, because remember, Emerson is on fresh tires. So the laps he's doing now, he's on fresh tires, and I think probably gaining on Michael in the overall scheme of things.
Now, the rules of this race would have required that they change 2 tires, not 4. Was that a good move for Emil?
Well, they felt they could change 4 just as fast as they can change 2. That's why they made the decision.
Well, they changed 4 and got the pit stop done, refueled in 11 seconds. And as you've suggested time and time again, fuel is really the determining factor in the stop.
And believe me, the scary time is coming when Mears comes in. He has dominated the event so far. Now he's going to put the whole race into the palm of his crew's hand. That is a harum-scarum time, too, of the crew.
Well, Rick Mears has continued his domination of this event. About 7 seconds now ahead of the second place Michael Andretti. Bobby Rahal third, Al Unser Jr. fourth. They have not stopped, nor has the fifth place John Andretti. Then Mario Andretti, then Emerson Fittipaldi, who has stopped, then Danny Sullivan, who has not, and Eddie Cheever, who has stopped. Ari Lyondike continues to run in 10th place.
Emerson follows Mario. Doesn't have to make a pass because he knows Mario is going to go to the pit lane. Doesn't have to pass John. He's going to go to the pit lane. That's the easiest way to pass. But Emerson will be anxious to get by because he doesn't want to get held up.
24 laps complete now, 45 laps, the scheduled distance, right at 100 miles. Emerson Fittipaldi still holds the fastest lap of the race at 106.54 miles an hour, set very early on. And that, of course, if it remains the fastest lap, as look at him, come around Mario Andretti, that will be worth $20,000 for that fastest lap alone.
Looked easy there, didn't it? Remember, he's heavier because he's got more fuel on board, but those nice fresh tires. Mario again kicks up that dust on the outside of that turn, but Emerson made that look easy.
It's a warm day here, sun beating down on all of this track, no cloud cover at all. How much of a difference will that make on these tires? How long will they live?
Well, you know, he does have a major determining factor on these tires, but they don't have to run them very long. They're actually designed to run longer distances, so it shouldn't make a whole lot of difference over the course of the race.
And there is the Penske team laid out for Rick Mears, anticipating a stop by him. The game plan set on lap 26. Rick Mears is working on the 26th lap at this moment, and Emerson Fittipaldi has upped the ante, kicked it up to a lap speed of 106.6 miles an hour, so up by nearly a full tenth, and in doing so, he still maintains the fastest lap of the race thus far and is staring at that $20,000. That's John Andretti just in front of him now. John runs in 5th place, Emerson in 6th, but remember that everything in front of Emerson, as Derek Daly has suggested, still has to make a pit stop, and Rick Mears is due at any moment. But Fittipaldi, look at him as he tries inside of John Andretti, and Fittipaldi is maneuvering in some areas you wouldn't expect it. Here comes Rick Mears as he comes down the pit lane. Let's go to Jan Beekes.
The leader of the race, Rick Mears, brings it to a stop right on the mark. We saw how fast they got done with Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's see how fast they can get it done with Rick. All the fuel is in. We can see that they've got all the fuel into the car. He has to go uphill. He's out of here. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. are both in. Rahal leaves just under 12 seconds. 4 tires for each. There's little Al gone. It was fuel and fresh rubber all the way around for both of the Gallus-Craco cars.
Bobby Rahal in and out as well. Some lightning fast stops. There comes John Andretti past Rahal, and there's Fittipaldi as they close in as Rahal comes out of the pits. A very important piece of positioning for Fittipaldi as he was able to beat him. Now look at Fittipaldi as he comes around John Andretti once again. That fight continues.
Great shots from the in-car camera, but Emerson on those fresh tires did not actually get much of an advantage because we see Rahal during the pit stops, I think has actually managed to close up.
All things remaining unchanged now. Everyone who has stopped should go to the finish.
So now Michael is one of our leaders that still has to stop. He's now behind Rahal. Now that's Mario behind Rahal. So Mario still has to make his stop.
And then Al Unser Jr., you see him just back behind Mario. Remember that the Newman-Haas crew, remember, for example, at Elkhart Lake, they seem to have been very good at stretching the fuel mileage very far. They're good at precision and knowing how far those cars can go. Michael Andretti, of course, picked up the lead of the race when Rick Mears made his stop. And we wait for Michael Andretti to make a stop. We wait for John Andretti to stop. We also wait for Mario. The order now is Michael, Rick Mears, Bobby Rahal, John Andretti, and Emerson Fittipaldi.
Back inside Michael. He knows he's not the fastest man here today. He has to depend on the pit work to try and help him. But I think he's too far behind to make up the critical positions. I don't think. I'll see him bounce over that curb on the inside. And then he slides all the way out over the white line onto that dust and dirt on the outside of that long uphill run.
Michael Andretti makes that left-hand turn down through the corkscrew. His crew waits at the bottom of the hill on pit lane for a stop, potentially at the end of this lap. He had, as he crossed the line, 16.3 seconds on Rick Mears. Michael Andretti decides, no, I'm going to stay out for another one.
The yellow flag would do me good here, though. I'm sure he's thinking that because all the possible strategies do play into it. But the key to it is Emerson got in and got out, and Rick got in and got out without any trouble. So that's going to make Michael's job even harder.
It would seem like Michael and Mario both are taking a chance in running this far, but that's something else that's unique about the challenge. You can run that chance without suffering anything other than the loss here.
You can take a chance. The rule states you must make a pit stop, but after 10 laps. Otherwise, you can do whatever you like.
The Pioneer Race recap as of 22 laps. That's in reality 6 laps ago when Rick was the leader. John Andretti comes into the pits now. Michael Andretti is the leader at this moment, trying to put as much distance as he can between himself and the second place car of Rick Mears. John Andretti came into the pits running in 7th place and now roars back into the action. That leaves only Danny Sullivan, Mario, and Michael Andretti due yet for a stop. One stop is mandated under the rules of this event. Michael now down the hill once again. The best guess would be he has to stop after this one. He's really stretching this fuel tank a long, long way. And he does. He is on the pit road. So Michael Andretti ready to roll into the pits. It's just around the corner, and Gary Gerald's there.
We wait and watch with the crew, Paul. They're trying to clear the other crew of Mario out of the way. Here's Michael right on the marks. Very conservative in his approach, but it's a very tight pit entry. Rick Mears on the course. Meanwhile, this could be close. It could be the battle for the lead. They're ready to bring him off the jacks. He's rolling just under 11 seconds. Great stop for the Newman-Haas team.
And look at Rick Mears on the pit straight. Rick Mears gets past him on the pit straight as Michael roars up the hill. Michael will come out chasing Rick Mears, but Mears picks the lead up again.
But what about Emerson? He couldn't get the pass made on the racetrack, and I think Michael has also beaten Emerson out of the pits.
So Michael Andretti, with a stop right at 11 seconds for the Newman-Haas organization, is back in second and chasing the leader of the race, Rick Mears. Fittipaldi will line up just behind this order as well.
Now Michael is closer to Rick than he has been for a long, long time. So Michael used that pit stop and stayed out a long time. Who can say it was wrong? It looks good here.
And if you look back, you see that Emerson Fittipaldi is sitting just behind Lyondike and closing in as well. It's going to be a whale of a run to the finish. Back at Laguna Seca, the final pit stop of the day, Mario Andretti as he comes in to the Newman-Haas pits. And again, this is a 4-tire change for Mario. Everyone else has stopped. Rick Mears, of course, you saw him pick up the lead of the race with his stop. And Mario rolls back in. Now, will he get out to beat John? That's going to be the key question here. Here is Michael on the pit straight as he screams past. And Mario Andretti got out ahead of John Andretti, just ahead of Michael. In fact, 2 seconds ahead of Michael. You'll get a glimpse of him from time to time as this man, Rick Mears. He is back in the lead. He relinquished to Michael Andretti for a while. Emerson Fittipaldi, still the fastest man thus far in the race. Then Al Unser Jr. in 4th. Bobby Rahal runs in 5th.
Mario, obviously had a little bit of trouble with his car because we saw the little wing adjustment. It just the downforce on the front of that car, probably pushing too much. That's what slowed him down. But the key to it was, we watched the pit stop. The crew got it done, got the pass over John Andretti during the pit stop.
Laguna Seca is 2.2 miles around, 11 turns, 32 laps of the 45-lap scheduled distance is complete. You got a glimpse of first and second there for a moment as continuing to chase Rick Mears. You see him just ahead. There's Rick. There is Michael Andretti. The fight continues. Let's get an update on Bobby Rahal. Here's Gary Gerald.
All that stop and go was because he ran over the air hose of his teammate Al Unser Jr. They had planned to stagger the stops on laps 27 and 28. Little Al was supposed to be in on 27, Rahal the next lap. But Bobby was running out of fuel, had to dive into the pits at the last second, and with this very crowded pit entry, he got over the hose of his teammate, consequently the stop and go penalty.
So Rahal with a stop and go, and that's going to hurt badly for Rahal, but the battle now is focused at the front. It's really all that matters. $275,000 paid to the winner of the challenge. Second place, a mere $170,000, Derek.
Yeah, the 170 could buy you a nice house, too, or a couple of nice cars.
Maybe Chris Mears is thinking about furnishing that new home down in Jupiter, Florida, that she and Rick have been working on most of the year. Of course, the Indianapolis check, that helped quite a bit.
That helped quite a bit. Great pictures of Michael here as he gets that car sideways in a drift, sticks those rear wheels off the racetrack, raises some dust. He is giving it everything. And look at Rick Mears. Just, there's the carrot. He can't quite get it.
And upping the ante is Emerson Fittipaldi, now up to 107.5 miles an hour. Don't forget, coming up next, second round coverage of the Senior PGA Tour, the Transamerica Senior Golf Championship from Napa, California. Live coverage at 5 o'clock Eastern. And there is Emerson Fittipaldi, thus far the fastest man, $20,000 for running the fastest lap in this race. But it is not always the swiftest that wins. Fittipaldi sits back in third place.
Locks that left front wheel, chasing Michael, jumping on that brake pedal, locks up blue smoke coming off that tire, still trying extremely hard because he is only in the $120,000 paying position, Paul.
You know, one thing that always the officials and teams of the Indy cars do is try to find new technology to make the cars even safer than they already are, the safest in the world. Let's take a look at some of the new technology that CART will be testing over the winter to make the cars even safer. This Track Fact is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. Now, here's Gary Gerald.
Two major concerns for any IndyCar driver are the threat of fire and the threat of a stuck throttle. Fortunately, technology in recent years has virtually eliminated the threat of fire in IndyCar racing, but the possibility of a stuck throttle still exists. Director of Competition Wally Dallenbach and his associates over the past 4 years have been working to eliminate that problem, and they've come up with a most interesting device. Envision now a throttle that's stuck wide open. Here is a sensing device that immediately alerts the brains to that situation. The driver, by simply hitting the brake, you see this red light come on, immediately shuts down the engine, merely by pushing on the brake pedal. Now, there are also laser sensors in here that if the car rolls over, the same thing happens. That red light comes on to indicate that the engine has been shut down. A fire sensor, if there's intense heat, automatically shuts the engine off. And also, as you look in here at some of the computer wizardry, there's an impact sensor, so that if there's a collision, the same thing happens. It shuts the engine off immediately. This unit is going to be incorporated for testing in Indy cars this winter. And Dallenbach, interestingly enough, has one of these units operative right now in the safety car that he drives this weekend here at Laguna Seca. Hopefully, next season, we'll have taken a giant step toward eliminating a potential safety hazard for IndyCar drivers.
There is a fight underway at Laguna Seca in the Marlboro Challenge with just 8 laps to go now. Rick Mears leads this race. Michael Andretti runs in second. Fittipaldi runs in third place. Al Unser Jr. fourth, and his teammate Bobby Rahal in the 5th position. But here's the new news. Rick Mears just cut a lap at 107.766 miles an hour. That is the fastest thus far. There's his wife, Chris. You got a glimpse of Sandy Andretti, Michael's wife, just a moment ago. Michael ran a lap at 107.752 miles an hour. In other words, the fastest lap of this race, which is held by Rick Mears, is only separated by 1/100th of a second.
Now watch here. This is where we saw Michael very fast earlier against Emerson Fittipaldi. He actually closes up. There's Rick on the corner of the picture there. He closes up here. But Rick, from here on in, just draws out enough of a breathing space to give him comfort. Rick is still controlling the race. But look at Michael. Look how close he gets.
Michael Andretti trying to close down on Rick. He's not in a position to battle Rick at the moment. He's simply trying to get position. But he is also running out of time now with just 7 laps to go. There's Rick Mears, the number 3 car. He has won the Marlboro Challenge before. If he wins it today, he will become the first man in history to score 2 wins at the Marlboro Challenge. And remember, there's another $150,000 incentive line on the line for Rick Mears, owing to his win at the Marlboro 500 at Michigan. Danny Sullivan slowing down on the course is the report. There he is, the number 20 car. Sullivan not really in this contest. He's running in 9th place right now. The battle continues to be at the front of the field, and there is a mere 1.8 second separation. Ari Leyendijk comes up the hill to pass Danny Sullivan and move up a position, but Ari spun right on the first lap and so has been well back behind this field throughout the entire run. Here is where it matters. Michael Andretti now trying to look at him. Looking at the back end came around. Michael had to snatch the wind right and left just to try to keep that car under control. In the pits, there's no question about the tension that is there. So Rick Mears now 1.7 seconds. It doesn't matter in the least what that lead is on this course. All it would take is the slightest wrong twist of a wheel, and Rick would relinquish over to Michael. What will happen? The finish is coming up. Oh, there's the rocket, Rick Mears at Laguna Seca, and there is Michael Andretti just behind him and trying desperately to close in. Michael climbs the hill behind Rick Mears. We're now in the closing laps with just about 4.5 laps to go to the checkered flag. Tension time in the Penske pits, certainly down in the Newman Haas pits as well, as the crews have done their job the best they can. The car is prepared, the pit stop's done, and now it's up to these 2 drivers. And who will come home with the $275,000 that is paid for first place in the Marlboro Challenge? And if Rick wins it, another $150,000. Both drivers with cars that they will never have to sit in again. There'll be new cars for next year, so they can stretch it another extra couple percentage points in every corner.
What a frustration time for Michael Andretti here. He sees Rick lap after lap after lap. He's almost in the same position. Michael is doing everything to the best of his ability, makes no mistakes, puts perfect laps together, and Rick is still the same distance ahead of him. A frustrating time for a driver, but sometimes you just have to wait and wait and wait. Sometimes it comes to you, sometimes it doesn't.
And in this case, it is Rick Mears driving at incredible pace now, 107.825 as he ups the ante again. Don't forget, we're going to have coverage not only today, but we'll have coverage tomorrow in the final race of the IndyCar season. It is the race that will determine who will be the PPG Cup champion, Bobby Rahal or Michael Andretti. But right now, the focus remains on that number 3 car and Rick Mears, now averaging over 105 miles an hour for the race. But there is a car that sits just in front of him, and that is Eddie Cheever. Will Cheever become a factor here? Look at Michael close in as they come to the pit straight. Cheever in front of Rick Mears.
Now Cheever will get the blue move over flag. We see it just there below the Toyota bridge. He will be aware that the leaders are behind him, and I think Eddie should move offline. Yes, he does. Moves to the outside. Mears is clear, but Michael still has to get by.
Rick Mears comes through, back to the flat of the course, 3 laps to go, and Michael Andretti now has to handle up Eddie Cheever.
We mentioned earlier the frustration that Michael has. Believe me, he was hoping that Rick would get slowed in some way trying to pass Cheever, but it didn't happen.
So now Michael Andretti closes up on Cheever, but it has given just a little bit more breathing room. And look once again as he comes to that corner. Derek, he's throwing the car all over the course.
Every time at that turn 4, Michael gets on the power, breaks the rear end away, doesn't come off the power, just Just makes a correction and still tries to catch Rick.
Oh, scary little pass, even though Cheever knew he was there to the outside and up into the blind corner. That's the left-hander just before they come down through the corkscrew. And now Michael has nothing but open roadway in front of him. Don't forget the golf coming up next at Transamerica Senior Golf from Napa, California, right after the running of the Marlboro Challenge. And look at Michael, as once he got past Eddie Cheever, he was able to close in again. But is there enough time and distance left? 43 laps are now complete for the leader. Less than 2 to go for Rick Mears and Michael Andretti.
Rick has been so good all day. He's controlled the pace here. Michael, he's going to have a difficult time catching him unless he can force Rick to make a mistake. Rick has not done that and is not prone to doing that, as Roger Penske watches a very, very good day for the Penske designed and built cars.
Down in the Newman Haas pits, they keep track of Michael Andretti. You got a glimpse there of Peter Gibbons, who, of course, was with the Penske organization and just a few weeks ago moved over to Newman Haas and will be the engineer on Michael's car for next season. Michael with Rick Mears just ahead. The extra incentive for Rick, of course, is that he can walk away for this day with $425,000. Actually more than that, $445,000 if he keeps the fastest lap. But Michael is right there. The difference between first and second, first place paying $275,000 and second place $170,000. So you're looking at a lot of bucks as the white flag comes out in between Michael Andretti and Rick Mears. The final pass around the 11 turns. Just 2.2 miles to go. Rick Mears locks the left front brake as he comes down into the hairpin.
Well, did that tell you how hard he's trying? Remember, Mears has already won $375,000 of Marlboro money in the challenges past. Michael, he's way up there. He's earned $350,000. So these are big paydays for the people who run right at the front.
For Michael Andretti, so close, but really so far. That interval is so difficult to make up. Still, Michael has done it in the past. Can he do it again? As once again, the last pass up the hill now. They make that left-hand turn and continue their climb. Almost 300 feet in elevation difference between the bottom of the course and up here at the top. And Michael Andretti is very definitely closing in. The blind corner just ahead. There's the corkscrew. Michael slaps it down the hill. He continues to try and catch Rick Mears. It's going to be very, very close. The crews look to see them come out from under this bridge. And there they see Rick Mears still has the lead, but Michael is still closing in. The Marlboro Challenge about to be decided in Laguna Seca. And for Rick Mears, $445,000 if he can just hold on. He climbs on the pit straight. He's out of fuel. He slows down. Michael Andretti comes around him. And Michael Andretti on the last straightaway picks up the race, the checkered flag, and the lead. What could possibly have happened to Rick Mears? A missed gear, a faltered fuel. Who knows what it is?
My word, give me a minute here to catch my breath and try and feel my heart here. I can't believe. Look at the dejection on Roger Penske's face. I can only think it must have been a missed gear. Unbelievable finish.
If it were a $200,000 mistake for Rick Mears. I'm wondering what he's saying. Roger Penske has already taken off the radio communications. And remember, in 1987, Bobby Rahal won the challenge, went on to a championship. Is that what Michael's thinking here? Chris Mears, well, she can't believe it.
We said it earlier, Paul. It will be difficult for Michael to win this race unless Rick makes a mistake. I'm not saying he made a mistake, but he did do something. Something went wrong and handed it to Michael. I bet he can't believe his luck. Just watch what happens here.
Look again here. This is the last corner of the race.
Now, Rick actually accelerates. Then he slows. Look at Michael almost hits him. Those rear wheels slide sideways. Then Rick gets it back in gear. Look what happens. Leaves black streaks. I think it was a gearbox problem.
And it cost Rick Mears $255,000. How did it look to Michael? Let's remember, as he was coming down the hill, he's pretty well assuming that, well, he's going to go right on through and just win the race.
Now, Michael has got his gear chosen. Once he gets on the power, now Rick is stalled. Boom! Swerves out to the inside, misses him, and picks up an extra $105,000 in about, what, second and a half?
Oh, not long at all. Let's go down to the pits now, and Jan Vikas.
You guys were talking about what that might be. It looked like a misgear. I checked with Richard Buck, the crew chief, and it was, in fact, that it stumbled for fuel. He got around turn 11. It stumbled for fuel. He didn't miss the gear, just a little bit short. One straightaway. Paul?
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because you'd hate to think that Rick would have to live with the idea that he missed a gear coming off of that corner. So Michael Andretti climbs out the winner, a very rich man here today. Here are the final results after the running of the Marlboro Challenge here at Laguna Seca. The championship still on the line tomorrow. Andretti is now with Gary Gerould.
Well, for the first time ever, a two-time winner in Marlboro Challenge history, Michael Andretti, I'm sure this was the last thing you expected coming to the final turn on the final lap.
For sure. I mean, I was driving my heart out the whole time, but a little unfair for Rick. I mean, he deserved it. He drove a heck of a race and was driving very tough. And but I guess when it's your day, it's your day.
It really kind of typifies the way this whole season has gone, and yet the big showdown for you is now 24 hours away.
Well, I hope and pray that we didn't use all our luck right here. You know, I just tomorrow, if we can just finish the race, I mean, it'd be a perfect weekend and perfect year for me.
It's a tremendous lift in terms of momentum for you and the whole team, but I know it's going to be probably a sleepless night.
It's going to be a long night, but this helps a little bit.
All right, congratulations. Let's go now to Jan Beekes. He's with the dejected Rick Mears.
Rick, what happened there, Rick, coming out of turn 11?
Just coughed, sorry for fuel right there at the last corner, and you know, no warning up to that point. It just hesitated for a split second, died, and by the time it caught and took off again, he was already by.
Thanks.
One of those days. Thank you.
Well, I'm not so sure I could be smiling at a moment like that. A $255,000 change of position in the last 300 feet of the race. Rick's dad is there to console him, say, kid, don't worry about it. Right, don't worry about it. Michael Andretti, once again, take a look at it as Michael Andretti, when Rick's car stutters, yanks it over to the left and comes past, picks up the lead with just a few hundred feet to go. The checkered flag under that bridge, and Michael Andretti wins the Marlboro Challenge.
I think we just saw a great event, and we just saw the most expensive half-gallon of fuel of the year.
There's the payout. Don't forget, here on ESPN tomorrow morning, it is the Formula One from Japan. And then, of course, tomorrow afternoon, the final IndyCar race of the season. Will this man, Michael Andretti, pick up his first IndyCar championship? 3 times he's finished in second place. We'll see you tomorrow. Paul Page for Derek Daly, Gary Gerould, and Jan Beekes will close the IndyCar season. It'll be a great race.